ಇದು ಬರಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ಇದೇನಾಯ್ತು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ ಆಯ್ತು. In the first slide. Sorry for a little disturbance here. Okay. Now we know that on this biosphere, every living entities has been subjected to the action and interaction of several factors. That means it is under the influence of several environmental factors. Now, among these factors, the climatic factors is also one of the important potential factors which are capable of influencing the existence of life itself. Say, for example, the radiations or the temperature or the humidity or the atmospheric gases. So there are so many such factors which are influencing the flora and fauna in our environment. Now, if everything, every composition of the say atmosphere or hydrosphere or lithosphere were to be there very normally, judiciously being managed, today's problem would not have been arise with respect to the global warming or climate change. We know that globally at present there is a hue and cry that there is global warming, there is a climate change, we should check it and we should minimize these things. Like that, it is a global concern. So why this problem have been arisen? So what is the factors or what are the things that we should look into really to see that as to why this global warming is happening and why the climate change has been resulted, and what are the factors that are responsible for such an event to happen, which has happened and happening and may happen also. In case if you do not awakened to arise and see that the global warming should be checked. So let me see as to what is global warming. Let me explain you, all right, as to what is global warming. So we are all aware of that. In simple words, a gradual increase in the average temperature in the Earth's surface as well as the atmospheric layer near the Earth's surface. We generally call it as global warming. So global warming mainly is referring to the increased temperature of the Earth's surface as well as even to the lower layers of the atmosphere nearing the Earth's surface gets warmed up or heated up. Now, why this global warming is taken place? We are all aware of that. The increased concentration of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is responsible for this global warming. That means the heat loss from the Earth to the space is slowed down. Now, in a real sense, we know that the solar radiations are striking the Earth's surface. Solar radiations are striking the Earth's surface. When these solar radiations strike the Earth's surface, so these radiations, after striking the Earth's surface, they get reflected back. Some of these radiations escape beyond the atmosphere and go away. But some of these radiations completely, say suppose you say 100% radiations are striking the Earth's surface, all the 100% radiations will not be reflected back, because we know that in the atmosphere itself there are gaseous components, so which will be reflecting back the solar radiations, and it has been approximately estimated that about 48% of the radiations are reflected back, and the remaining radiations are trying to enter through the atmospheric layers and then strike the Earth's surface. When these radiations strike the Earth's surface, the quantum of these radiations are being absorbed. What is this quantum? Quantum, we know that light travels in the form of particles, and each particle of a light we call it as photon. the photon. The minimum energy possessed by a photon is called quantum. The quantum of these radiations are going to be, that is the heat energy or the energy. The quantum is the minimum energy possessed by a light particle. Among this, when all these radiations are striking the Earth's surface, some amount of heat is being absorbed, and when this heat is being absorbed, gradually there will be an increase in the surface temperature of the Earth. Similarly, when these radiations are reflected back after striking the Earth's surface, they want to escape. They cannot escape completely out of the atmosphere. The reason is because of the presence of the greenhouse gases. What are these greenhouse gases? The greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, methane, and oxides of nitrogen. In addition to that, water vapors also form the causal factor for global warming. Though it is not a gas, it is considered to be one of the components which is going to affect the global warming. Hence, it is called a greenhouse gas. Among the greenhouse gases, mainly the carbon dioxide, methane, and oxides of nitrogen are responsible very naturally. Additionally, we will also see the presence of water vapors is also responsible for affecting this global warming. Now, why is global warming happening? The main causes for this global warming and climate change is mainly the change in greenhouse gases concentration. Number 2, the variation in solar radiation. Number 3, deviations in the Earth's orbit. Change in greenhouse gases concentration. I will come to that later as to how the concentration of various greenhouse gases are being changing. Then variation in solar radiation. We know that the Earth is undergoing rotation and revolution and all these things. And also based on the concentration of these greenhouse gases, the penetration of the solar radiations also is going to be taking place. So that means the penetration or the striking of the solar radiations from the heliosphere of the sun to the Earth's surface or to the biosphere depends upon the concentration of these greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Because these concentrations of these gaseous components are varying, the solar radiations are also what? The incidence of the solar radiations is also varying. That is also responsible for global warming. Artificially, even man-made causes are also there, like CFCs and other things. Then the third causal factor is the deviation in the Earth's orbit. So that means the Earth is supposed to be, or it is been estimated that it is undergoing a tilt, it is undergoing a slight tilt. So any such tilting of the Earth.
Excuse me, sir. Nazina ma'am, please mute your audio. Please continue.
Okay. So even such type of tilting of the Earth is also being responsible for causing this global warming. Now we know that in our Earth's atmosphere, the various gaseous components are present. The chief gaseous components include the nitrogen, oxygen, argon, likewise, which are considered to be the non-greenhouse gases, which are more than or greater than 99% in our atmosphere, while the percentage of water vapors, carbon dioxide, methane, which are considered to be the greenhouse gases, are less than 1%. So having less than 1% of this concentration of the greenhouse gases, it is resulting in changing the temperature of the Earth's surface. So what may be the reasons for all these things and how these greenhouse gases are being increasing day by day in concentration, right? That we shall look at. Now, what are the sources of these greenhouse gases? Now, basically, I would like to say one thing, that why we call them as greenhouse gases. As botanists, we are aware of the fact that In a botanical garden, there will be a glass house or a greenhouse, they construct it. And this glass house or the greenhouse will be a building, a room-like structure. It is a room, so to say. It is a room having a roof above, and this roof above is made up of the glass. It is made up of the glass, and it will be having a door, this room. And inside this, we are going to keep most of the times many endangered species or rare species of the plants. We will grow them in the pots or the soil beds. We add the manures. So we close the door because we want to multiply or conserve these things. So that is how in a glass house or a greenhouse in a botanical garden, we keep these plant materials or the plants. The sunlight or the solar radiations enter through the glass roof. So they enter into the greenhouse, and when they enter into the greenhouse, they are striking the plant surface, helping in photosynthesis, manufacture of food. Of course, whatever the water that has been whatever the water that has been there in those plants in the pots or the soil bed, etc. So the plants will absorb these things, grow, and the excess of water through the process of transpiration will be released into the indoor environment of the greenhouse. So water vapors cannot escape out of the glass roof. Number one. Number two, the solar radiations that are entering through the glass pane or the roof, right? So they, after striking, they cannot escape. Once again, because of this glass roof, which will be re-radiating. It will be re-radiating or re-reflecting the radiations back in the indoor environment of the greenhouse or the glass house. Similarly, for the plants, we normally apply this cow dung or some manures. So through these manures, the oxides of nitrogen that are being liberated also will be accumulated in the indoor environment of the glass house. And the carbon dioxide that is being released, right, during metabolic activities also will be locked up in this greenhouse. So that is why when all these things are there, see, water vapor is there, solar radiations are continuously reflecting and re-radiating and re-reflecting, like that it will be there, and the water vapors will be accumulating, and the oxides of nitrogen are accumulating in the indoor environment of this glass house or greenhouse, and the glass house or greenhouse is being closed. That is why when you open the door and enter into a glass house or a greenhouse, suddenly you feel warmer. So the reason is because whatever the radiations that have entered into the greenhouse, they want to escape, they cannot escape, because in the indoor environment, right, we will see the accumulation of the increased concentration of carbon dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, water vapor. As a result of which there will be what? A continuous absorption of the energy, right? Heat energy from the soil surface inside the greenhouse, and also the lower atmospheric layers like in the indoor environment. So the net result is that there will be a warmer condition. Because these gaseous components are responsible for causing this warming nature, the same thing can be compared naturally on this earth, where in the atmosphere we are having the concentrations of carbon dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, water vapors, etc. So that is how it has been referred to as the greenhouse gases. And the effect is nothing but the result of increased temperature. You call it as the greenhouse effect. So the same greenhouse effect, whatever that is taking place in a glass house or a greenhouse in a botanical garden, can be comparable, right, to the natural phenomenon that is taking place on the earth because of the same phenomenon. So these greenhouse gases were for the first time discovered by that means they were identified for causing these things, were identified or discovered by the scientist J. Fourier. And this greenhouse effect that is taking place in a botanical garden or a glass house or a greenhouse is comparable to the natural Earth surface, where also it is also resulting in global warming. So this comparison was made by a scientist called Pierre Laplace. Laplace is the scientist who compared this phenomenon. Now, how naturally on this Earth surface the greenhouse gases are being generated? In other words, what are the sources of these greenhouse gases naturally on our Earth? So these gaseous components are generated by various anthropogenic activities. For example, burning of fossil fuels. We burn petrol, isn't it? Diesel, etc. So when you burn these things, what happens? There will be what? The liberation of the oxides of what we can say, the carbon monoxide, later on converted into carbon dioxide, oxides of nitrogen being released, likewise through various activities. Deforestation. So we know that forests or the plants are the one which act as the carbon dioxide sink. So if you keep on cutting the trees, so if there are no vegetative cover or the plant cover, so the concentration of carbon dioxide increases in the atmosphere. We know very well that during the phenomenon of photosynthesis, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is fixed into the biosphere during the Calvin cycle or the dark reaction by RUDP. It forms. That is a later part. That is the another phenomenon. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that plants are very essentially playing an important role in the absorption of carbon dioxide for various metabolic activities, as for example, photosynthesis. So when you cut the forest, what happens? The vegetative cover decreases. The absorption of carbon dioxide is slowed down or nullified so that its concentration in the atmosphere increases. Extensive rearing of livestock is also responsible. India is ranking number 2 in the human population and ranking number 1 in cattle population or livestock. We are number 1. So followed by Brazil and China. So in other words, when you rear these livestock, when they give this dung material and when it undergoes various microbial degradation, it releases the methane gas. So it has been scientifically proved that a single cow is capable of producing 73,000 liters of methane in 1 year. A single cow is capable of producing 73,000 liters of methane per year. So our livestock population is very high. We are ranking number 1. Our geographical area is not increasing. We are having just 327.8 what we can say square kilometers of this Earth surface, and our area is not increasing, but our human population and cattle population is increasing. So another source of this greenhouse gas is from various cooling agents or blowing agents or packing materials or aerosol sprays, etc. Very commonly, we are using refrigerators, very commonly. So when we use these refrigerators, we know that it is releasing CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. Now, these chlorofluorocarbons, we know that is going to damage the ozone layer. When it damages the ozone layer, the UV radiations start entering into the Earth's surface. So that means they are also high energy radiation. So even those activities are also responsible for causing this global warming. And if I can say about one by one, these greenhouse gases concentration, as for example, carbon dioxide. It has got, see, each greenhouse gas is having a definite potential, global, that is what we call it as global warming potential. Global warming potential. What is global warming potential, GWP? The ability of a gas molecule like greenhouse gas, the ability of a gas molecule to trap the infrared radiations to trap the infrared radiations is called global warming potential, right? So that means carbon dioxide is having a a very high global warming ability to absorb these infrared radiations. And it also depends upon the atmospheric lifetime of a gaseous component. So once a carbon dioxide molecule is released into the atmosphere, it lives for about 200 years in the atmosphere very actively. So the atmospheric lifetime of these gaseous components is high. So that is how these gaseous components are capable of absorbing the radiations and re-radiate them back into the Earth's surface. Now, carbon dioxide is going to be released by burning of the fossil fuels. And it has been estimated that its concentration is increasing 1% every year. So in the last decade, in the last 10 years, it has been estimated that more than 2 billion tons of carbon dioxide has been pumped into the atmosphere or uploaded into the atmosphere through various anthropogenic activities. And in the last 150 years, they have recorded that about 30% of carbon dioxide has been increased. Now look at the deforestation activity that is taking place. For example, we know that our geographical area is about, I'm displaying on the slide. And as on today, 2nd October 2021, around 10:45 to 48 minutes, I took the population of the world, right? So, and India is also having in the ranking number 2, is also increasing. And as on today, the world forest cover or vegetative cover, we can say, vegetative cover or the world forest cover is about 30.71%, while India's forest cover is very pathetic, 23.68%. According to National Forest Policy, an ideal forest cover in any geographical area must be 33%. It must be 33%. We are ranking well below this 33%. Now, if you consider the geographical area, so we are having just 328.7 million hectares of the land. Our geographical area is not increasing. Our human population and cattle population is increasing. So we are putting tremendous pressure on our natural resources, including forest resources and fossil fuel resources, mineral resources. So we are putting tremendous pressure on these, what we can say, the resources. And we know that today we are all experiencing a hike in petrol, diesel, etc. And we make a human cry, oh, this government, that government, whatever may be the government, whatever may be the party, whoever it may be. Why it has been increasing? The reason why the price is increasing, your demand for the fossil fuels is increasing. Your demand for fossil fuels is increasing. Why your demand is increasing? Because you are increasing in your population. Your consumption of petrol or diesel is also increasing. And these fossil fuels have taken millions and millions, billions and billions of years to be formed, isn't it? And these fossil fuels or the mineral resources, remember, they are non-renewable resources. They are non-renewable resources. What is non-renewable resources? Once you use these resources, they are converted into some products. They cannot be replaced back into the nature. So they are considered as non-renewable natural resources. So you are using a lot of these petrol or diesel or fossil fuels for your activities. Maybe for vehicles, maybe for industries, maybe for any purpose like this. But it has been estimated that most of these oil wells that are located in the Middle East countries, especially in Saudi Arabia, with the present rate of consumption, of these fossil fuels across the globe, by 2065 to 2070, not even a single drop of oil being available. Not even a single drop of oil is being available with the present rate of consumption. See, that means, are we judiciously managing our mineral resources? That is what one has to think. So that is a later part to keep on analyzing these things. So let us not deviate from these things. Just I am telling you as to how we are with an increased population, we are putting lot of pressure on these resources, because once we use these resources, we are simultaneously releasing these greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So that is how within just 2.47% of the world geographical area that we are having, so we should check our human population, we should check our cattle population, we should check about our resources, we should know about the carrying capacity of our earth or our ecosystem to our geographical area or to our country. And so within these limits, we should judiciously use our resources. Otherwise, many things will happen. See, for example, carbon dioxide concentration globally. Now I am speaking at global level because it is a global problem. Global warming and climate change is of an international, what we can say, a problem. That is why we are discussing at global level. Now, see, according to National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, it has been taken. So as on, so what we can say, January 2021, it was 400, sorry, it was, I have just not changed it. It was taken in August. So in August 2021, its concentration was about 415.52 ppm, not January, it is, because I forgot to change that month when I took the data. So as on August 2021, the atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide is 415.52 ppm, and the same concentration last year August in 2020 it was 413.61 ppm, and it was updated. This data was updated on 7th September, right, 2021. So that means in the year around 2000, the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere was around 282 ppm. 282 ppm was the concentration of carbon dioxide in the beginning of this 21st century, that is 2000 onwards. Say 1900, 20th century. But now you see, compared to that in 1900s or 2000s, so we are almost double the amount of carbon dioxide concentration. So that means whatever the temperature that was being present regularly or earlier is not the same temperature that we are seeing today. So when the temperature, when the atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration was 282 ppm, the temperature would have been somewhere around 25, 26, 28 as an average, for example, at Mysore or elsewhere like that. But you look at this now globally, when you have doubled the concentration of this carbon dioxide, automatically it has also resulted in causing global warming. Now methane. So another major culprit for causing this global warming. Its concentration is increasing day by day, and about 145% of the increased concentration of this methane gas can be seen in the last 100 years. And so more than 30% of atmospheric methane comes from our natural resources, especially by the decomposition of these various organic matter, including the dung, by the action of methanogenic bacteria, even in paddy fields. So likewise, so we are seeing that the concentration of this methane is also increasing, and methane has 25 times, it is more effective than carbon dioxide in absorbing the IR radiations, infrared radiations. So likewise, The global warming potential of this methane is also high. Its atmospheric lifetime is also high. It lives about more than 40 years. So, and according to an estimate, about 100 million tons of methane is increased annually. Now, another gaseous component which is responsible for global warming is nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide is a colorless, non-flammable gas with Swedish odor. It is the description which they normally call it as laughing gas. Now, how these oxides of nitrogen are being produced? They are produced mainly by the oceans, decomposition of organic matter, so to say, rainforests, etc. Even in fertilizers, in the paddy fields, in agricultural activities, we are seeing. And during catalytic, even during the burning of these materials of various, what we can say, organic matter, we are seeing the oxides of nitrogen are being released. Now, its atmospheric lifetime is more than 110 years, more than 110 years. That of carbon dioxide is more than 200 years. So, likewise, they are all the gaseous components. Once they are released, they remain active for several years in the atmosphere. And water vapors, of course, it varies from one region to another region, though all these things. So these also play an important role in what? Absorbing as well as reflecting the radiations. So greater the warmer condition of the air, greater will be the holding of these water vapors. So that means the relative humidity or humidity also play an important role in causing this global warming. Now that is what I told in the beginning. What is a greenhouse effect? So very briefly to say, global warming means the solar radiations are striking the Earth's surface, and after striking the Earth's surface, they will be reflected back. When they are reflected back, they should escape beyond the atmosphere, but they cannot escape beyond the atmosphere because of the increased concentration of these greenhouse gases, which act as an umbrella, which act as a thick umbrella-like structure, wherein these will strike these gaseous components and get re-reflected back or re-radiated back to the Earth's surface. Once again, the heat energy is absorbed, and some energy is once again converted. Once again, they want to escape. Once again, it is striking. Once again, it is reflected back. So because of this continuous radiation and reflection and re-radiation and re-reflection, so greater the amount of absorption of the solar radiations by the Earth's surface, so that the Earth's surface gets heated up. And this increased temperature of the Earth's surface, as well as its just atmospheric layers on the nearer to the Earth's surface. So because they become warmer, so this we call it as the global warming. Now the same thing which I have explained here. The solar radiations, we know that we are lucky enough not to receive the UV radiations, because there is ozone layer which is going to filter out all these harmful UV radiations. And here most of the visible radiations come from the visible part of these radiations, right? Visible spectrum, so to say, that we are aware of it. So these will come through the atmosphere, and once they strike the Earth's surface, they get radiated back, and when they get radiated back, they cannot escape out of the atmosphere here. So they get reflected back. And when there is an increased concentration of these greenhouse gases, so they strike these greenhouse gases molecules and once again re-radiated back. So it's a continuous, because of this continuous phenomenon, the Earth's surface as well as the lower layer of the atmosphere near to the Earth gets heated up or warmer, which we call it as the greenhouse effect. Now, do these greenhouse gases are present in different planets? Of course, Pluto is now not considered to be a planet. It is no more existing. Just a planet-like body, they say, it is existing. However, there the temperature is very cold because there is no presence of greenhouse gases, or there may be a little greenhouse gas. So that is how the scientists have predicted that when there is no more greenhouse gases, or if there is a little concentration of the greenhouse gases, the effect also will be very less, so that the surface temperature becomes very, very cold. They have predicted that on Pluto, when it was supposed to be there, right, the temperature would have been minus 370 degree Fahrenheit. And this temperature, that is the solar radiations, or the temperature that has been present on the earth surface of, not the earth, on the what, the strata of this Mars, on the surface of the Mars, it is about 300 degree Fahrenheit difference between high and low temperatures. So a high and low temperature variations. Now these are all the research works carried out across the globe by various scientists, and of course at NOAA all these information is going to be pulled down, and then they record it authentically. So that is how this much of difference in the temperature has been noticed. And if you look at these planets like Mars, I mean Venus even, so there is abundant greenhouse gases which are very, very hot. So the temperature will be more than 850 plus degree temperature is there on the Venus planet. So this is because this planet is supposed to have abundant amount of this carbon dioxide, methane, oxides of nitrogen, etc. So that means the concentration of these gaseous components is instrumental in determining the surface temperature of a planet. So as such, the temperature on the surface of the earth is also going to be determined by the concentration of these greenhouse gases. They are influencing these, the gaseous components are influencing the temperature on the surface of this earth. So at present, we are having, I showed you already, the concentration of carbon dioxide, methane, etc. And had these greenhouse gases were not to be there on the earth, the temperature of the earth would have been minus 18 degree Celsius, or about 0 degree Fahrenheit, where no metabolic activities was possible. So we had an optimal concentration of the greenhouse gases, so that all the biota, flora, fauna, including human beings, were showing a normal metabolic activities. When these normal metabolic activities in every living activity is taking place, and if you increase the temperature, the metabolic activities also get altered. So if there is a decrease in temperature or an increase in temperature, so it will be affecting all living forms. So had there were to be minus 18 degrees Celsius of temperature, you would have been frozen. No living protoplast might have been existing on this earth. So likewise, if the temperature goes beyond 60 degree, we know that there will be the decomposition or denaturation of the protoplasm. That is how every living activity requires an optimal temperature, and this temperature on the earth's surface is being regulated by this concentration of these greenhouse gases. And how much these gaseous components are contributing to the greenhouse effect? Say, it has been estimated that carbon dioxide contributes to about 64% of this global warming, and oxides of nitrogen contributes about 6%. Methane contributes about 19%. So in addition to these things, we are also aware of the fact that chlorofluorocarbons are contributing 11% to this greenhouse effect. Earlier, I have explained you that we are all using refrigerator. When we are using the refrigerator or air cooler or air conditioners, etc., so we are releasing these CFCs into the environment. When these CFCs are released into the atmosphere, so they are capable of destroying the ozone layer. we know that each CFC molecule which contains chlorofluorocarbon, chlorine atom, each chlorine atom is capable of dissociating the O3 ozone into O2 plus oxygen atom, nascent oxygen atom, O2 plus O. So that means O3, whenever it is split into O2 plus O, nascent oxygen atom is being formed, which is also highly reactive. And during this period, what happens? When the ozone layer is broken, the ultraviolet radiation start penetrating and striking the Earth's surface. So that is what is happening. So if you damage the ozone layer, we are inviting the maximum harmful radiations and UV radiations, so that the more and more absorption of the heat energy or the radiations take place, so that more and more or greater the increase of the temperature of the Earth's surface is going to be resulted. So that is how chlorofluorocarbons are instrumental in adding to the global warming. So a single chlorine atom released from a CFC molecule is highly reactive to dissociate as much as 1 lakh molecule of ozone. A single CFC molecule is capable of dissociating 1 lakh molecule of ozone layer. So at present, if all the ozone molecules have been compressed in our atmosphere, it is about just 3%. It is about just 3%, and it is continue to decrease. So that is how through our activities we are decreasing. If the amount of solar radiation or the energy that is absorbed by the Earth's surface, say suppose 100% is striking the Earth.
Excuse me, 054 Somalingam sir, please mute your audio. Hello. 054.
Please put off.
Mute your.
Sir, please.
Sir, 054, please mute yourself.
Okay, please continue.
Okay. So if the amount of solar radiations, my request, in between, if you can disturb my flow of explaining and thoughts also will go off. It gets interrupted. I don't say go off, it will get interrupted, and you may lose your concentration also. Better. Okay, fine. Whenever the solar radiations absorbed by the Earth's surface, say suppose 100% solar radiations are striking the Earth's surface, and if all these 100% are reflected back, naturally the temperature of the Earth remains constant. That means whatever the solar energy that is absorbed by the Earth is equal to the amount that is reflected back into the space, then the Earth remains at a constant temperature. Suppose the amount of solar energy absorbed by the Earth is greater. That means greater incidence of solar radiations is there on the Earth's surface than the amount that is radiated back or reflected back. Then the Earth gets heated up. This will happen when there is an increased concentration of the greenhouse gases, because these greenhouse gases act like an umbrella. They act like an umbrella. The radiations want to escape, but they cannot escape because they strike this and get re-radiated back. So that the amount of absorption of the heat energy will be increased. So that is why there is the phenomenon of this global warming. Suppose the amount of solar radiations and energy, whatever that is striking, is less than whatever that has been radiated, then automatically the Earth cools down. So that means the incidence of the solar radiation striking the Earth's surface, if it gets reduced, automatically even the Earth also gets cooled down. So in other words, these solar radiations striking the Earth's surface, the concentration of the greenhouse gases are interacting together to result these phenomenon, an increase or decrease in the temperature or warming of the Earth's surface. Now, I told you the another reason for this global warming and climate change is about orbital parameters. The Earth is undergoing a tilt. That is what the scientists have predicted. And this tilt may take place from a minimum of 22.5 degree to a maximum of 24.5 degree. I do not know why the Earth is undergoing a tilt, how it is undergoing a tilt, where it is undergoing a tilt. Like all these phenomena, I cannot understand. It is the physics and other things. I am not going into those details. Just what the scientists have predicted that it is, I mean, they have estimated that Earth is undergoing a tilt and the current tilt is about 23.5 degree. Now, when the Earth undergoes a tilt means naturally there will be variation in the amount of solar radiations that are striking the Earth's surface, change in the greenhouse gas concentration, and that is how the incidence of the solar radiations also get varied. And all these are responsible for causing this global warming. See, that is what I say. A minimum of 22.5 degree to a maximum of 24.5 degree. The Earth is undergoing a tilt, they say. And the current tilt they have estimated is about 23.5 degree. Now, what is this ultimately? Global warming means we are experiencing and will experience a climate change. So when this global warming or temperature, increase in temperature, do you think that all activities that were taking place earlier, say, for example, all human activities are taking place at a temperature moderately at, say, 23 or 24 or 25 degree. Then do you think that at 40 degree, 50 degree centigrade, the same metabolic rate activity will be taking place? It will not be. So likewise, so global warming means we are experiencing and will experience a change even in our climate. How all these things would take place? Now, how much of temperature increase has taken place? Various research works have been carried out across the globe in different parts of the globe. Various scientists, various schools, various team of investigators have carried out the research work. And according to some models, up to an increase of about 90 degrees centigrade temperature increase may take place. And some studies have put the minimum change in temperature on the Earth's surface would be from 1.5 degree and to a maximum of 4.5 degree or 6.2 degree Celsius. I told you, based on their experimental and research investigations, they are predicting and they are saying about all these things. But however, it has been projected that a minimum of 1.5 to a maximum of, as an average, 4.5 degrees Celsius of increase in temperature may take place by the year 2100. By the year 2100. At present, 0.8 degree to 1 degree centigrade temperature variation has been recorded as on today across the globe. And the hottest temperature in the last few years, if you consider 2018 and 2019 at present. So I have not put that graph here. 2019 has been recorded to be in the last one decade to show an increased temperature, and it is considered to be the hottest year globally, 2019. I was telling you, ozone is also responsible for causing this global warming. So we know that this ozone layer, whenever it is in the stratosphere, it is an eco-friendly layer. It is a layer which we require. But the same thing, if it is nearer the troposphere, then it is not a friendly layer. So ozone should not be in the troposphere. Remember, what is troposphere? A distance from the Earth's surface up to a region of about, up to a height towards the atmosphere of about 40 kilometers. We call it as troposphere. 40 kilometers to 50 kilometers, we normally call it as stratosphere. Likewise, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere. So various layers of stratification of the Earth has been predicted. So now, ozone layers, whenever they are present in the stratosphere, they protect us from the UV radiations penetration, being the ozone layer being a protective layer, which is capable of filtering out all the harmful UV radiations. It is considered to be an eco-friendly layer. But if this ozone starts getting accumulated in the troposphere, what happens is that they react with the hydrocarbons, right, and form, in presence of sunlight and water vapor, they form a compound called photochemical smog. They form peroxyacetyl nitrate, PON, right? So photochemical smog is going to be formed. And this photochemical smog is once again act as a pollutant. It is dangerous. So that is why ozone should not be nearer the atmospheric region. And if it is in the stratosphere, it is an eco-friendly layer. And of course, it is measured in DU, that is Dobson units. So this is the thermal structure of the atmosphere, wherein at different kilometers, various layers are present. And I have shown you that ozone layer is about from 20 to 40 above. If it is there, it is a friendly layer. If it is below, it will be a dangerous layer. And we know that O2, that O3 is going to be formed. Oxygen is going to O3, ozone is going to be formed by the action of the combining of this oxygen atom with the oxygen molecule. And when this ozone layer is nearer the atmosphere, it is going to react with all these things, hydrocarbons, volatile organic compounds in presence of light, right? So it is, if it is nearer the atmosphere, right, it is in the troposphere, it is going to cause this photochemical smog. So that is what an oxygen atom with a diatomic oxygen atom, right, forms the ozone layer in a simple way, the equation as to how it splits or how it is going to be formed. See, at ground level, as I told you, ozone is a health hazard. It is a major constituent of photochemical smog. So in the stratosphere, it absorbs all ultraviolet radiations in a range of 240 to 320 nanometers, which are the harmful radiations, and it protects us from skin cancer, etc. So if this ozone layer is going to be depleted, the UV radiations enter into the surface, strike the surface, lots of harmful high energy radiation striking the surface. So the temperature of the surface of the earth increases. So the reasons for depletion of ozone is presence of chlorofluorocarbons or oxides of nitrogen or halogens or bromine. They are all going to damage this ozone layer. So that is what I am showing you here equation wise, how this chlorine atom, right, reacts with the O3. This chlorine atom is being released by the CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. So it is going to split it, right, that O3 into O2 with that nascent oxygen atom combines with chlorine. So likewise, so there will be, see, look at this, the photo. So when the ozone layer is depleted, the harmful radiations are striking the Earth surface. So thus, the anthropogenic activities or man-made activities by the usage of refrigerators, air coolers, air conditioners, etc. is also responsible for causing this global warming. And this phenomenon of damage of ozone layer by CFC was discovered by a scientist, a Mexican scientist called Mario Molina. So for which he was given the Nobel Prize in the year 1995 for chemistry. So he is the scientist who established or who discovered that CFCs are responsible for damaging this ozone layer. Now, ozone depleting substances. See, in our day-to-day activities, we are releasing through our various, likewise through refrigerations, fire extinguishers, right? All these things, we are releasing these ozone depleting substances. But as compared to this refrigerator with CFCs, refrigerator with HFCs are slightly better. The reason is because these HFCs are not as much greater harming, ozone layer damaging components as that of the chlorofluorocarbons. They are also going to damage, but is at a very slow rate and with a very less rate. Now, I told you one chlorine atom as an average destroys about 1 lakh molecule of ozone. So that the UV radiations will enter and strike the Earth's surface. So the temperature of the Earth's surface gets heated up. Ozone depletion by CFC, as I explained, is the factor responsible for global warming. And health consequences are also going to be resulted. See, when temperature is increased, the absorption of radiations are observed. The metabolic activities that are taking place in all organisms, in their tissues, in their cells, in their systems, in their organs, everything get altered. Even up to DNA level or genic level, we can see such type of changes. For example, when your body is exposed to UV radiations because of depletion of the ozone layer, so it may result in skin cancer, sunburn, eye damage, cataracts, and even it may decrease immune system. It may undergo DNA mutation, sudden and heritable changes. And even they have estimated that 25% increase of non-melanoma skin cancer is going to be resulted by 2050 if there is a 10% reduction in ozone layer. So these are all the changes in the surrounding environment we are experiencing, and that is how it is going to be resulted. According to EPF, Environmental Protection Fund, they have said that in the next 40 years, UV radiations can destroy or damage about 3% of world production of legumes like pulses and other crop plants if the ozone layer gets depleted. Now, acid rain is another one which is responsible for causing climate change. It is not only the increase in temperature, global warming, depletion of the ozone, and even acid rain is also responsible. See, whenever there are, what is acid rain? That means the rainwater, which is acidic in nature, having a pH value well below 5.6. If the pH value is well below 5.6, normally that rainwater, we call it as the acid rain. Now, it results because of the release of various pollutants like sulfur dioxide from industries. When these sulfur dioxide from industries are being released into the atmosphere, so these sulfur dioxide molecules reacts with the water molecules present or water vapors present in the atmosphere, and they form the sulfuric acid, that is the rainwater or the water droplets which are acidic in nature. And when this acid rain pours down to the Earth's surface, so it is a dangerous layer. It is a dangerous thing that is going to happen. Acid rain is never for the betterment. It denudes the foliage, it denudes the trees. That means it removes the foliage, and it may affect even the respiration. So many things, and skin diseases, skin allergy, skin irritation, skin itching, so many things may take place. So how our climate change, that means when you increase the pollutants in your atmosphere, and especially in the during the rainy season or precipitation, so how this acid rain is going to be formed. For example, the Mathura refineries that have released the sulfur dioxide have resulted in causing the acid rain, as a result of which the Taj Mahal in Agra, right, part of it has been what become black and or corroded, corrosiveness nature, we can say corrosion has taken place. So at many places across the world, there are, we can see the damaging of the stones, architecture, etc., buildings. Now, when this acid rain takes place, when it pours down and reaches the soil, the acidity of the soil increases. If the soil becomes acidic, the plants will not grow. The plants will not grow. I will give you an example. For example, Sweden is a country which is not having that much of industries which can release the sulfur dioxide or pollutants into the atmosphere. but it is a country which suffers worst every year because of acid rain. The reason is because the neighboring countries of the Sweden are having these industries which give out the sulfur dioxide. And by the time these sulfur dioxide molecules diffuse in the atmosphere and reaches the atmospheric region of the Sweden, it is a rainy season. So during that rainy season, these sulfur dioxide molecules react with the water vapors to reach to the surface or the land of this Sweden as acid rain. And it has been estimated that more than 150,000 fishes die in the lakes of Sweden every year. Fish is the major food for the Swedish people. More than 150,000 fishes will die in the lakes of Sweden because of the acid rain. The water becomes, or the lakes become acidic. So that is why we should not consider that in my home or in our area, we are not polluting, and we should not bother about if somebody pollutes elsewhere. So whatever that has been polluted elsewhere, the result of the fruit may reach to your home. So that is why this, what we can say, concept of this global warming and climate change has become a global issue. See, look at the file photo I have taken, how the acid rain affects the sculptures. So this was the thing in 1908. So look at, because of acid rain in 1969, how it has been denatured. So, and when lakes becomes acidified, so high rate of mortality of fishes will take place. Even you might have experienced or come across in certain areas where the rivers or lakes, suddenly the fishes will die in large quantity because of the discharge of the hot effluents from the industries into the water body. The sudden change in the temperature as well as the acidic condition, that many acid components, etc., right, that is discharged from the industries, will bring about a high rate of mortality of fishes. Fishes are highly sensitive to the pH of a water body. It should be somewhere around 6.8 or 6.6, something like that. So if it becomes acidic, they are the first one to die in the aquatic ecosystems. See, look at these trees. So denudation of the leaves, right? So because of acid rain. So at several hectares together, the forests have been lost because of acid rain. So all these changes are going to be visualized. So it may even kill the microorganisms, damage, and the respiratory system is also going to be affected. Say, suppose you are walking and there is all of a sudden acid rain, and when you inhale these water vapors which are acidic in nature, so they may enter into your windpipe and may damage your bronchial tubes or bronchioles or bronchi, and you may feel difficulty in breathing. A sort of irritation will be there when something enters into your body, because this acid rain contains the particulate matter of oxides of sulfur dioxide or nitrogen oxide. So when these chemical molecules are entering into your respiratory tract, so you get irritated. So that is how that irritation problem or something uncomfortable nature is going to be resulted. So when you are exposed yourself to acid rain. Now, with all these changes in the environment, global warming, which is due to the result of the greenhouse gases and also the depletion of the ozone layer, acid rain, CFCs. Now, how the climate is going to be affected? What is climate? Climate is the aggregated pattern of weather, meaning it is the average of extremes, timings, spatial distribution of hot and cold, whether the condition in your area is hot and cold over a period of time, cloudy and clear, humid and dry, whether there is drizzling and downpours, or there is snowfall or snowpack or snow melt, tornadoes and typhoons. So climate change means altered patterns of all these things. So you will say, suppose now you are all sitting in your home or room. Now you experience something, some conditions immediately. Whatever that you see right through your window now is nothing but what? At this hour, at 12:55. What is this condition? You call it as weather. You call it as weather. Whatever that you see immediately now is the weather. So weather is a short term, isn't it? It is a short term experience. And what you write through the window, now you are experiencing, that is what is called the weather. But the same weather, if it prevails throughout the day, fine. But when it prevails over different seasons, rainy season, winter season, summer season, like that, when it alters, so you will see this, it is referred to as climate. So that is what is what? Climate and weather. So now any such changes in the temperature or global warming, so can bring about, can alter this global climate. So temperatures, even small temperatures changes can bring about a large change in the atmosphere. Now, climate change is a change in the usual weather found in a place, right? And when it occurs, when long-term weather patterns are altered. So, in other words, first you should know what is the weather. Weather is shorter, it is limited area, it can change rapidly. Now at this hour we may be having certain temperature. By 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, it may suddenly change, isn't it? So it is very, and you cannot predict whether it changes or not also, you cannot say, isn't it? It is difficult to predict. So in other words, weather is what is happening outside immediately right now through your window, isn't it? That is what you call it as weather. So whereas climate is long term, it occurs in a large area, not in your immediate home or room surrounding. It is in the entire what? Region, say entire Mysore city or entire Karnataka. Likewise, in a large area, wider area. And in which season, whether we are in winter season, summer season, spring season, like what season we are having. And it is measured over a long span of time. So that means climate, in other words, is the average of many years of weather observation. Many years of weather observation. What is the weather morning? What is the weather afternoon? What is the weather in the evening? What is the weather in the night? Today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, 3 months, next year, during the same period. Likewise. So all these data that they are going to pull in and the effect that they are going to predict is nothing but the climate. I hope you have understood what is the difference between the climate and weather. So go back, I will show you once again. So it is the temperature, right? Climate is the aggregated pattern of weather, aggregated pattern of weather. That means it is the average of many things, extremes, timings, spatial distribution of these factors. That is, whether it is hot or cold, you are going to assess it, whether today it is hot, tomorrow at the same time it is hot, next year it will be hot. Likewise, over a period of time, you are going to assess about all these conditions, and that becomes the climate, isn't it? So that is why weather is short term, limited area, can change rapidly, difficult to predict. So climate is long term, it is occurring in a wider area, and it results because of seasonal changes, and it is measured over long spans of time. And how this climate is going to be affected? It is affected by both biotic and abiotic factors. The latitude, altitude. See, normally during summer, you want to go and stay at higher elevated places, isn't it? Most of the people, say for example, they go to Nandi Hills, Kemangundi, Ooty, Kodaikanal, higher. Why do you go there during summer? Because you feel that the temperature is lessened and you feel bit cooler, isn't it? So that's altitude. So various, all these abiotic factors, solar radiations, evaporation, right? So all these activities also going to affect the climate. Similarly, the rate of transpiration, the rate of respiration, photosynthesis, decomposition, all these things are also going to be responsible for what? Resulting in the climate. That means climate is affected by all these factors. Climate is going to be affected by all these factors. So what would be the rate of photosynthesis in summer? What would be the rate of transpiration in summer? Right? What would be the rate of respiration in summer? Right? All the same phenomena in winter, in rainy season, it does not remain the same. So when you take in all these things over a period of time and calculate it over a vast area, then you can predict that the climate will be like this. So that is what is climate. And this climate is going to change. Now it is changing now. See, earlier they have predicted that November to February is the winter season. March to May, June is the summer season. June to October is the rainy season. Now we do not predict easily, you cannot say, because a lot of changes has been taking place. Even during summer months, you may get rains. Even during the winter temperatures or rainy season, you may become extremely hot. For example, last week I could see it over a past 40-50 years, in Mysore city, they had not recorded the temperature of 33 degrees Celsius. So last week, on one day, there was an increase in temperature to an extent of 33 degrees Celsius. The same thing for the last 50 years, they have taken average, it was about 27 degrees Celsius. So that was the maximum. But this year, last week, they have recorded 33 degrees Celsius has been recorded in that. And that is, this is not what season we now? This is the fag end of the rainy season, like, isn't it? So likewise, all these variations are taking place because of a change in our what? Surroundings. Global warming, ozone depletion, acid rain, deforestation. Now, what is the difference between global warming and climate change? The next question. Now, global warming means an increase of the Earth's average surface temperature. Why? Because of the building up of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So, global warming means the increase in the Earth's average surface temperature. And why this increase in temperature is taking place? Because of the building up of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. On the other hand, why this climate change is going to be resulted? Because of global warming, plus you will see the rainfall, isn't it? Mean annual rainfall, precipitation is also changing. So if both temperature and precipitation or rainfall is changing in an area, it is referred to as climate change. It is referred to as climate change. So global warming is due to the what? Increase in average temperature, surface temperature of the Earth, whereas climate change in a broader term, I am using the word broader term very broadly, it refers to the changes in climate, including temperature and rainfall. Now, what is the proof that global warming is taking place? So, instead of explaining, I will show through pictures and some telegraphically. See, this is a file photo that has been taken in Tanzania, Kilimanjaro, 1970. This place is in Tanzania. Kilimanjaro is the name of place. In 1970, see, look at the snow cover on these mountains. After 30 years, when they have recorded whether the climate change has resulted due to global warming, look at this. The ice have been melted, isn't it? So I will show you the previous photo and I will show you the next photo. So this itself is, a layman can also understand, yes, whether the changes have been taking place. If he is 20 years old in, say, at that time, 30 years back, and when he becomes 50 years old, what is the mountain that I was seeing now? It is not having snow at all. It is not having ice cover at all. He may experience. So that is what climate changes is definitely taking place. And why should we be concerned about global warming and climate change? Why we should bother about all these things? What is the impact of this global warming and climate change? What is this impact? Why should we be concerned about it? And scientists have predicted that, yes, global warming is taking place. And as a result of which, I told you, 0.8 to 1 degree Celsius of increase in temperature has taken place. As a result of which, what happens is that when there is an increase in temperature, the polar ice caps melts, glaciers melt. All these melted water will go and join where? They join the sea. When they join the sea water, the sea level rises. The sea level rises. They have scientifically predicted that by 2050, by the year 2050, 20 centimeter of sea level rise takes place. 20 centimeter of sea level rise takes place by the year 2020. And by the year 2100, 50 centimeter level, centimeter sea level rise is going to take place. So in the sense, they have predicted, scientific projections and predictions have been made that by 2050, there will be a sea level rise by about 20 centimeters. Already this is being experienced. Nowadays, we are seeing near the coastal areas of Bombay, isn't it? And the western parts like this, Maldives. So at many areas, we can see the flooding of these sea water is taking place. Unseasonal rainfall, unseasonal temperature fluctuations or variations we are experiencing. And by 2050, they are also predicting that almost all parts of these Maldives Islands will be submerged in water. So when global warming takes place, it is simple. Take an ice cream from your refrigerator outside, keep it for 10 minutes. Because of increased temperature outside, what happens? The ice cream melts and runs into liquid like. Similarly, when all these polar ice caps, glaciers, all these snow areas, so when all these things, snow cover, everything is melted, they melt and join the river or the sea. Even if it joins the river, the river will join the sea. So there will be an increase in the sea level. When sea level rises, the land mass submerges. So that is what it has been predicted. See, look at even in this graph. I am showing you by somewhere around between 2000 around 50, 1.1 feet of sea level rise takes place means, so how much of land area may be submerging. So they have predicted by 2050 to 100, most of the coastal cities across the world are submerging in the water. You may not see Bombay or you may not see Kolkata. If you are alive, right, till then, right. And no, I don't want to be alive till that happens. So I want to see now itself means you can take up an immediate step to see or experience all these things. Yes, the earth is warming. The 30 years of trends show all these things. An increase in temperature of the lower atmosphere, increase in temperature of the land surface, oceanic surface, sea surface, ocean heat content, humidity, and an increase in sea level. Decrease in glacial cover, decrease in sea ice cover, decrease in snow cover. All these things have been recorded. So you may find these types of animals may find their difficulty. They were all living in the polar regions, isn't it? On their ice caps. So when all these things melted, they find it difficulty to make their livelihood. So if you continue to cause this global warming, climate change, see, this polar bear may find ultimately when the land mass is going to submerge, they may catch a fish like this as its food. Now, global impacts have also been recorded. So this photo here I am showing you. Between 2050 and 100, if you want to search for Maldives, right? If you want to go anywhere for a picnic, so you can go to Maldives here. They may have to put a board. Once upon a time, this Maldives was existing here. Now, if you want to see, go get inside the sea life. The largest glacier in Mount Kenya has lost its 92% of its mass. Right. And the thickness of the sea ice in the Arctic region has decreased by 40%. And these are all the effect across different parts of the globe. Even coastal erosion or wetlands have taken place even in USA. Half of the world population, we know that they live along the coastal area. Half of the 50% of the world population are living in the coastal area. They are more vulnerable to floods. When sea level rise takes place, automatically flooding is resulted. Intrusion of salt water. Even it is not only that, this global warming and climate change may also affect the breeding behavior. I am taking the representative examples, some here and there, a few examples to show you how global warming is resulted in climate change and how it is affecting the various activities, right, including the life of the flora or fauna or human beings. See, in this animal has advanced its breeding period by 24 days over the past 50 years in response to higher temperature. So we are having a normal phase. See, vegetative phase, maturation phase, isn't it? Then, of course, senescence. Likewise. So instead of maturing at the age of 18, if they mature at 6 years and 8 years or 10 years, so what it thinks. So that is what I am telling you, right? So this animal, this bird, which was supposed to, right, breed during a normal period, I mean, it has advanced its breeding period by about 24 days, right, over a period of 50 years. And polar bear populations may find it difficulty to get their food, as it becomes harder when all these things melt and they find it difficulty to live. Climate change impact in India also has been experienced. I'm just showing you telegraphically some of the examples in different parts of the country. See, in Rajasthan, severe drought has been resulted. In Run of Kutch, which is in Gujarat, right? Little Run of Kutch, one of the biosphere reserve area. So sea level rise has been recorded. And in Mumbai, salt water intrusion into the groundwater, aquatic water bodies has been resulted. So automatically when salt water sea level rises, it floods on the land mass, and this flooded water, when it is drained into the groundwater, it becomes salty, isn't it? Which is not usable. So likewise, even the productivity of a forest, researches have been carried out, have been affected. So likewise, all these things are due to the global warming and climate change. And I will show you one of the file photo that was taken very long back by Daily, that is Indian Express. See, Himalayan source of the Ganga is drying up. In Himalayan region, the Ganga river, right, region. So the 40 yards per year, this is melted snow, these glaciers, I can say, glaciers are melting, and by 2030, hardly in another 8 years, it may completely disappear. So this I will show you this photo. See, look at. So the glaciers were there, Gangotri glaciers on Himalayas. So in 1780, so it has been melted. They have taken the photo in 1935, 1958, so 2001. Now this photo I could not get it by 2020. So somewhere it is here. So it is melting. So when these things melting, these water will go to join the sea, flooding of the Ganga, right? Probably you might have been aware of a few years back, Kedarnath, Badrinath, and all these areas have been flooded, isn't it? So loss of human life, land mass, right, landslides, all these things have been resulted because of such a change in our environment, global warming and climate change. It is not only on these things, they may also having an impact. The global warming and climate change are also having few minutes more, just a few minutes. I will take. So may also spoil our food substances, food storage systems, and all these things. And any such changes in the global warming and climate change may be causing harmful effects, or they may showing the beneficial effect. For example, earlier in northern Karnataka, they never used to receive so much of rains, but now they are receiving excess of rains, isn't it? So when they get optimal rains, they may feel beneficial, but it is beyond a limit, it is going to be a risk factor. Now, many such, what we can say, the global warming and climate, that is alteration in temperature and other things, may also result in causing these waterborne diseases. I'm showing you just through photos. That is vector-borne diseases like dengue, Lyme diseases, rickettsia, malaria, all these things may increase. And there may be an elevated risk of all these factors, so to say. Viruses, for example, herpes virus, which causes herpes, leishmania, leprosy, various such microorganisms. We know that every living entity, including the microorganisms, require an optimal temperature. So if the temperature is going to be altered, their activity also is going to increase. For example, an increase in the temperature may bring about or may result in the multiplication of certain disease causing bacteria. For example, tuberculosis, isn't it? So tuberculosis is the one that is Mycobacterium tuberculum, the causal organism. It multiplies rapidly in warmer condition of the environment. So if the temperature is increased, it multiplies rapidly, and if the persons are going to be affected with these things, and if they are in together or in the vicinity, so it spreads like anything. So that is why wherever the patients affected with tuberculosis are there, they are kept outside the place in a sanatorium where the aeration should be there. Even in your houses, always better to keep your windows, doors, everything opened during the daytime at least, right? So that the fresh air should circulate in. So suppose you close all the doors and everything, you yourself is releasing the carbon dioxide inside your home and room. And if somebody having a disease enters into your house for a few minutes and go back, and if they release those bacteria in your home because of the warmer condition, indoor environment, so the bacteria may multiply and cause disease. So that means an increased temperature will definitely provoke or will promote, you can say not provoke, promote the multiplication of the disease causing microorganisms. Even if there is a reduction in, this altered temperature or climate may also affect about the abundance and occurrence of the phytoplanktons, right? And subsequently the food chain may be affected, the aquatic animals may be affected. So likewise, and even on human health, the World Health Organization have predicted that the warmer water and flooding will increase exposure to diseases in drinking and recreational water. So pollution on the rise may cause about allergy, right? If you increase the air pollution, if for example, you may ask me how this air pollution is related to global warming. See, global warming can be checked if there is a good vegetative cover. If you decrease the vegetative cover or cut the forest, we know that forests or plants are the best biofilters of air pollutants. If these air pollutants are not going to be absorbed by the vegetation or the plants, they are going to spread, right, in the atmosphere, and the temperature is also increased. The multiplication of these disease causing organisms are also increasing. So that is how everything is interlinked in a chain reaction. So what are the solutions to all these problems? We should stop global warming. How to stop this global warming? Right?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Time up, sir.
Yes, that's what. 2 minutes, I am finishing. Don't worry. Right? Okay. So, in case if it is too much not possible for you for bear with 2-3 minutes, you can leave it. No problem. See, that is what global warming. Today we are feeling that we should not hear, we should not see, we should not speak about all these things. If we can see it, then how we can expect the future generation to live? So it is a problem of everyone, climate change and everything. That is why it has become a global problem and global issue. To minimize this global warming and climate change, we should use cleaner energy. Deforestation activity should be there. Multiple transport system should be encouraged. Minimize usage of fossil fuels. There are so many conventions that have been held to check on or to address this problem of global warming and climate change, including in the recent summit, in the recent meeting also, few days back, when our Prime Minister has visited US also, they have talked about, they have addressed about the issues of this global warming and climate change. And whatever the action plan is required immediately. If you go at a very slow rate, so you cannot check up these things. Now, advanced countries, I will tell you, advanced countries are insisting upon the India to check these emission of greenhouse gases. We know that greenhouse gases, no doubt, is being released even from our country. But as compared to India, there are other countries and even the advanced countries are also polluting our atmosphere. But these advanced countries are insisting upon the developing countries like India to see that we should check the emission of these greenhouse gases, for which they are ready to give funds technology and everything, and it should be legally binding. They are insisting that India should be legally binding, but India did not agree for this, because when compared to India, the Indians, the other countries, Western countries, they are also polluting to a greater extent. When the same question was insisted upon the other countries that you should be also legally binding, they were not agreeing at this summit. So that is how it has become a debatable matter. So India did not want to become legally binding for the agencies to come and check up the emission of these greenhouse gases. And similarly, India, when they insisted upon the developed countries, they did not want to commit themselves to check these emission of these greenhouse gases. So ultimately, what next? What is the next problem? Is to better to keep quiet, isn't it? Without listening to any problem, but that does not give a solution. So the world leaders always try to meet at some point, and they said that yes, we shall conduct one more meeting and we shall arrive at certain action plan to check this global warming and climate change. By the time they are going to take up a decision, I think this will be the scenario. This may be the probable scenario by the time they want to take a decision. So what would be at next meeting? Already sea level rise has taken place, global warming has resulted. By the time you initiate action plan, the earth may get submerged. So if you want to have a healthy environment, sustainable development is the need of the hour. Judicious utilization of your resources, right? Keeping your environment clean, protection of biodiversity, including forests, control of the pollution, protection of the energy resources, protection of the health hazards. So if maintain a healthy environment with all these parameters, definitely you can achieve a sustainable development. Otherwise, a day may come during which it is not for the sake of fun I am showing. So because the deforestation activity is going in such a manner that we are finding it difficult to breathe in a fresh air or a clean air. So for every action and reaction, so if you pollute your, see here, this is an environment which is clean, having an optimal concentration of everything. And if you pollute it, bring about global warming, climate change, so this will be the reaction. For every action, there will be a reaction. So it has been predicted that during the course of evolution, man has been evolved like this. And maybe because of global warming and climate change, you may see, and ultimately from the man, a species like this may be created or evolved. It has been said that life is originated in water, and if you don't check up this case of global warming and climate change, a day may come during which for the same thing.
Modi, Dr. Modi, please put up your mic.
It has been said that life has been originated in water, and during the course of evolution, man has been at this stage. Now, once man has become advanced with all his technologies, thinking and everything, because of global warming and climate change, he may enter into the next phase. So there is no place like home, and there can never be again. So thank you very much for all your patient listening. This is a very vast topic which cannot be very precisely presented. But however, I tried my level best to give you the inputs as to what is the current concept of this global warming and climate change and how it is resulting. And I'm sorry in case if you have been bored with certain examples, but however, I wanted to convey you a message that this is the real need of the hour, wherein we should create awareness, and we should be aware of ourselves to check the menace of this global warming. And this can be achieved by the simplest means of living, dissemination of the knowledge